Hello, good evening. It's Monica from Life is Art, and it's Wednesday. Let's create. I'm just pulling up my video, and we're going to get ready to rock and roll. And if you saw the title of the video as you were joining, you will see that we are using thin cuts in expected and unexpected ways. Sounds mysterious. It's not that mysterious. We're just going to mess around with a couple different sets of thin cuts and see what happens. So, of course, fiddling with my video, and I don't think it's actually going to let me see it on my laptop again. So, we're going to close that and try it with the tablet. I don't know what's going on with that, but we've been having such weird things going on with Facebook and Facebook Lives and all that fun stuff. And one of the things that happened yesterday was I popped on and did a surprise video, yay, and then discovered that overnight at some point the video disappeared. So, sadness, I'm going to re-record the video and then post the link from YouTube so that everybody can see how I created the little treat boxes. And so that will be happening probably later on this evening. So let me just see if I can find it. There we are. Turn my video sound off so you don't have to hear my voice in duplicate. Hey Joanne, nice to see you're watching, and Carol's here. Hello, your internet is back on. Phew, finally. Hey Mom, nice to see you're watching. So we are going to delve into the core catalog. This is the brand new one that just started in August. And in here there are lots of interesting stamps and papers and thin cuts and stencils and all sorts of good things. But the thin cut that we're going to look in here at is the card front slider window. Okay, so the card front slider window, we're also going to be using this stamp set, the Sending Smiles one. And then we're also going to be using a thin cut that is still available online, but it's not in the current catalog, I don't think. And that is the Layered Flowers thin cuts. And we're going to be using this one in an unexpected way. And the slider one will be used in the expected way. See how I did that? All right, so let's get ourselves started. We're going to also be using the Crisp Air collection because that's the featured collection for the month, and it's going to be retired, like not retired, but it'll be done at the end of the month. And so we're getting all the good use out of it that we can. Hey Joanne, yes, you have a dozen of the treat boxes on the go. That is awesome. I'm so happy. I saw the one that you had sent me the picture of. That looks so good. Hey Heather, nice to see you're watching. So we are going to be using this thin cut set. It's the slider card front, is that what it's called? Card front slider window. And there are 3 dies that come in the set, and you also get instructions, which is very helpful for using things like this. And so I like that they put that in there with nice big pictures. So these 3 die cuts, you're going to cut one thing out of each of these to create the card. So this first one that has the window in it, I have cut that out of some of the Crisp Air pattern paper that has all the beautiful patterned squares on it. And what I did was I kind of centered that window on top of one of the boxes as close as I could. I can tell I'm a little off because I can see a little bit of over here. But it was really close. And so I thought that was a nice little look. So we get the nice pattern. You know, half of our card front is done just because there's that beautiful pattern paper on there. So it cuts out the stitched lines. It cuts out the center square. And then it also cuts a slit at the top here where we're going to put part of the mechanism through. So that's cut out of the Crisp Air pattern paper. Then I pulled in some peach cardstock. I think it's peach. We'll say it's peach. Peach cardstock. And I cut out this thin cut. And this is the piece that creates the whole slidey mechanism. And this little part that's scored up at here, that will create the pull tab. And then this last piece I also cut out of the peach, and it's just a rectangle that has a couple score lines, but it's the perfect size. I mean, you could obviously cut a rectangle and score the lines, but this one is done perfectly to match up with all the other things. So those are the pieces we have cut. And we're going to start assembling with these pieces first. Yes, we're going to put it on a card base, but that step comes a little later. And I'm saying that out loud so that I don't rush myself through the steps and then miss something. So we've used the true color side of the cardstock to create this piece. The back side is the lighter side. So I'm going to flip it to the back side. And we've got our two scored edges here on the pull tab. And so I'm just going to add adhesive to both of these sides, like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold those two sides in towards the center. So we're just fold right on the score line, fold one side over, squish it down, and then we'll take the other side, we'll fold it over, and we'll squish it down. And what that does is it creates a really sturdy pull tab because you've got 3 layers of cardstock. It would take a lot of usage to damage that. So it's nice and sturdy. Okay, and then we have our card front with the slit at the top here. I'll put that behind so you can see the slit at the top. So we're going to take this and we're going to flip it over so that the slit is at the top. Look at that beautiful sapphire pattern on the back. And then we're going to take this piece that is going to go in here, and it's got our 2 scored lines on it. And we're just going to fold those scored lines in, just like that. And we might even grab a bone folder to just crease those really well, like so. And we're going to add adhesive onto the folded down part of the flap, like so. There's a lot of like so's happening. Like so, like so. Okay, and so we've got our adhesive on there. Make sure it's good and sturdy. If you wanted, you could use liquid glue for this or red tape to make sure it's super sturdy. But the only tricky bit to this whole operation is now just lining up this piece. Because what we want to happen is we want to have this piece covering this entire window and to be centered in the middle so that our little pull tab will go right through that slot that's at the top. So the best way to do it is this square has a stitch line going all the way around it, and I'm going to have to pull it closer to me, but you can hopefully see that stitch line there. And what we want to do is we want to line up the top of this piece with that stitch line and make sure that it's in the center. So I'm going to pull it right down as far as I can. Let me see. I'm looking on the video to see how far down I can go. So about there, I think, is still in the frame. And I'm going to make sure that those tabs are folded in. And then I'm going to line it up from side to side, making sure to get it as close to the center as I can. Line it up with the stitch line and then stick it down. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that's well stuck. But the other thing that you can do is you can take your bone folder and put it inside and just kind of rub it along where you've stuck that down. And what that's going to do is it's going to kind of give the cardstock a little bit of spreading, I guess. so that your piece here slides nice and cleanly without getting, you know, too much stuck on the sides. So now when we flip it over, you will see that there is now that beautiful cardstock showing through from the back side. So now we need to take our slider piece. We're going to turn it over so that the colors match, right? Because we have a light side and a dark side. So we want the colors to match. And we're going to slide it down in, keeping in mind that the slot has to be at the top. And that slides really nicely. Look at that. Gorgeous. And then we're going to take this and tuck it through the slot. So you kind of just hold on to it, bend it, and stick it through. Okay? So now you can see we've got this happening, and we've got this going up and down like that. So at this point, we need to do our stamping on here, because what we want to do is we want to create a two-part sentiment. You could even put photos in here so that the photos change from one photo to another. So I'm going to be using that Sending Smiles stamp set. And the sentiment that I'm going to be using this evening is, "You are as sweet as a peach." And I thought that was kind of cute because we've got sort of peach colored cardstock happening there. So I've already got the "You are as sweet" mounted on my stamping block, and I've seasoned it up. I'm going to be using Sapphire ink to do the stamping because it matches with this gorgeous sapphire that we have here. And I should bring in my Versamat that I use for stamping on. I didn't have that set up, so I'm just going to plunk it there. This one's all nice and neat and tidy on the back. My other one's gotten a little dinged up over the many years that I've owned it. So this is a nicer stamping surface. So let's open this up. And so we're going to ink up our "You are as sweet." And the thing that you need to make sure when you're stamping the first part of your sentiment is that this slider is pushed as far down to the bottom as it can go. So you have to push, 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 make sure it's as far down as it can go. Ink up your stamp, and then check to make sure you haven't picked up any ink on the corners of your block. And then you're going to center your sentiment, hopefully center it. And you want to give it a decent amount of pressure because there's that little crease in the center of this where the two cardstock pieces, one is overlapping on the other. And you want to get that ink as close in to the join as you can. So there, "You are as sweet." Now, if you have a stamp platform where you can go back and stamp again, that makes it a little bit easier. So now when I lift this up, you will start seeing the magic of the mechanism, and that you suddenly see your message disappear as you pull the slider up. See that? So "You are as sweet," and then we pull it all the way to the top, because now we're going to stamp the second half of our sentiment. Hey, Levine, nice to see you're watching. How's everybody doing? Oh, Carol's got a couple of these made. Woohoo! I'm glad you guys are trying this. After your adventures last week, you're going to do this paper. Oh, I know. The paper pack and sticker sheet for Crisp Air has sold out. It was so popular. And of course, we're right at the end of the 3-month catalog. So yeah, that's the hard part about waiting, is that sometimes we wait a little too long. Oh, so sad. All right, I'm going to pick up this As a Peach. I'm going to make sure it's nice and seasoned. Levine, there's a chance that if you look for just the paper pack, they might have just the paper pack as opposed to the paper pack and sticker sheet. You never know. There's always a chance. So I haven't checked that. So let me ink up this second part. We've made sure that our pull tab is all the way to the top. Very important. We're checking to make sure there's no ink. Look at that. I'm getting all inky on my thumb. So you know I had ink on there, and you don't want to get weird ink all around. And then we're going to stamp this right in the center as well. just like that. And give it a good minute for all that ink to transfer and get down into that layer of cardstock, the join. And there we go. You are as sweet as a peach. So let's try it again. You are as sweet as a peach. How cool. It's like magic. You just want to play with it all day. So now we can go ahead and we can add it to our card base and do our extra decorating. So I've got my white value pack card base and envelope, and of course it comes pre-scored. This is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 standard size. So just gonna fold it there like that with the bump side to the inside. And I always got to double check to make sure I've got it, you know, facing the right way up, because sometimes I crease it like this and then I move it aside and then I pull it back in and then I build my card only to realize that I have now made like a left-handed card. So always turn it around, make sure your fold is on the side you want it to be on. So now we need to add some foam tape onto the back of this because we need to make sure that our slider has room to move. So I've got my narrow foam tape. Oh, I didn't even take the starter bit off. There we go. And so it's pushed all the way to the bottom. So now we know that we can take this foam tape and we can add it along the bottom and it's not going to interfere with the mechanism, right? Because it's pushed all the way down. So we'll go ahead and add some foam tape down here. And then we can also add foam tape to the sides. So I'm going to turn it. And you could add, you know, foam tape to fill everything. But I don't. I leave some gaps. It's all right. You can totally leave gaps. Some people prefer it to be all filled in, but I try to conserve my foam tape a bit, right? Waste not, want not. So once you get up to here, then what you need to do is you need to pull this tab all the way to the top so that you can see what space is left for you to fill in with foam tape. Okay, so let's add some foam tape to the top as well, like that. And across. Do, 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 do. Got something on my nail. Okay, just talking to myself now. And then we'll add a little bit here in the corners, like so. There we go. Okay, now we can just peel the backing off everything and attach it to our card front. Now this card base that's been cut is 4 by 5 1/4. So that means that there is going to be some of your card base showing. And if you don't want this particular color showing, you can add, you know, a piece of cardstock to the front of your card to change the color or use a colored card base. I'm just going to leave the white because I think it'll look nice as I peel off all the backing. Good morning, Karen. Nice to see you're watching. It's good morning in Australia. Not only is it good morning, it's Thursday. All right, so let me just push that on all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm going to line this up on my card base. And you want to make sure you get it lined up pretty good because it's foam tape. And your foam tape, once it's down, it's down. And I have done it slightly askew. Apologies. But there we go. So now that it's attached to our card base, we can go, you are sweet as a peach. But we're not stopping there because, as I said, we're going to use some decorating in a little bit of a different way. We're going to use a thin cut in an unexpected way. So I have the layered flowers thin cuts, and I've been using these. In fact, these were part of the kit of the month. We used flowers from this for the card. And so the two thin cuts that I'm going to use is this open flower that has the 4 petals and this stitched oddly shaped flower center. Okay. Now you're thinking to yourself, where are you going to fit a big flower on here? And it's already got lots of flowers going on, but we are not going to make a flower. So I have cut out from Papaya paper. I've cut one on the true color side, and one on the lighter side. And then this oddly shaped flower center, I cut on the dark side. And what we're going to do is we're going to use these two flowers and this flower center to create a bow for our card. Okay, we're gonna make a bow. So what we want to start with is the light side. So we're gonna do a little bit of surgery on our thin cut, and we are going to, if you look at this and kind of take it like this, doesn't that look a bit like a bow? With just those two petals. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take our scissors and we're going to cut this bottom petal off. So I'm using my scissors right up against the two petals that I want to keep. And we're going to remove that piece, and then we're going to remove this one. So again, we're lining it right up against the petal that we want to keep. And I'm not trimming them apart because I want to keep that distance. And then lining up this way. And we're removing those two petals, which you could use for something in a minute. So don't throw them away. We're still using them. And then from the darker one, we're going to find the matching petals. So let me see these ones, because these ones and these ones are slightly different. So I'm finding the matching ones, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to remove this one, but I'm going to remove it and keep it. Okay, and then I'm going to take this one from the opposite side, and I'm going to remove it, and I'm going to keep it. This is kind of like how you do stamp surgery sometimes. So what we're going to do with this is we need to do one more thing. The two pieces that we cut off and set aside from the light colored one, we're going to turn those into the tails of our bow. So you see how the inside is narrower and the outside is wider. So we're just going to go ahead and trim a straight line on that side. And then I'm going to turn around and I'm going to trim a straight line on this side like that. And then at the end of the petal, we're just going to dovetail, and it doesn't have to be even or anything because it's a bow. So there's one little dovetail for our bow, and we're going to do the same thing. So this is the center of our flower, and this is the wider side. So we're going to make this straight, and we're going to make the other side straight. Now this, you could technically just take any piece of paper and do this, but I like that because we're using the petal, we're making it a similar size, a similar scale to what's happening with the rest of our bow that we're creating from our flower. So now it's just a matter of assembling this and doing a little extra. So the little extra that I want to do is to bring in my white gel pen, and this part that's our large piece of our bow, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a line around inside like that. Hope you can see that. Just drawing around with my gel pen. I'm going to scooch those out of the way. And I'm going to go over that part a little bit more. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just freehand doodling. You know, Karen, I got y'all into doodling. So here's the thing you can do with your doodling. So I've outlined my little bow. And then I'm going to make sort of the little V's that kind of give you the impression that your bow is cinched up, right? So there's our little V's. I don't know if you can see that very well because it's so tiny. Our little V's to look like little cinched up bows. And then we're going to do the same thing on our tails. We're going to draw down, up, like that. And we can even do a little couple lines at the top of our little tails. We'll do the same one over here. Down, up, down, and there we go. Okay, and let me see. Why not? Let's draw on these two darker ones too that aren't attached to anything yet, but they will be used. So we'll just draw around like so. And then we don't want the center to feel left out. This is going to be the center of our bow. Now there is a stitch line, so it's up to you whether you want to add the white, but I guess since I've added it everywhere else, I might as well add it on here. So there we go, just going around the wiggly-woggly line. Now it's a matter of assembling, and it's up to you how much fussing around you want to do, but I want to create a little bit of dimension with my bow because it's going to be basically the main embellishment on our card. So I'm going to take a couple snips of thin foam tape, just little tiny squares, and I'm going to put those, where am I putting those? That's a good question. I'm putting them on these extra little bow pieces. Extra bow pieces. It's kind of like bow peep, but bow pieces. And what I'm going to do with these, if you'll notice, this side of the bow is a little bit larger and this side is a little bit narrower. So I'm going to take the large one that kind of mirrors that one, and I'm going to tuck it behind this smaller one, but have it stick out a bit. You see how I'm kind of creating a double bow like that? And then this smaller one that matches this side, I'm going to come around to this side and just stick it on underneath. We're going to drop it down a little bit and have it sticking out like that, just to create a little bit fuller of a bow. Okay? And then our little circle in the center, we can go ahead and add a little bit of foam to the back of that with our thin foam tape, like so. And it's going to start looking very bowish. And we're going to stick that right in the center. Look at that. And it was cut out of the dark one too, so it matches the darker pieces in behind. And then these little taggy guys, we can use our liquid glue. And there's a bit of a trick to this, and that is you might as well add glue on both sides. So I'm going to put a little dot of glue there and a little dot of glue there, because we're going to tuck it in between the two layers of the bow that we created. And we want it to make sure it sticks somewhere, because they're not always they're not always in one. Oop, I put it the wrong angle. There we go. And then this other one, we're going to put a little glue on the back, a little glue on the front, just the tiniest little touch. And then we're going to tuck it in right there as well. So cute. Our little bow, and they can kind of overlap each other. And then we're going to add, oops, that one's not sticking. It's because I stuck my finger in the glue. There we go. I'm going to add a little bit of foam tape insurance, like so. Or not foam tape, adhesive tape, to hold that all together in the center. And then on the ends, I'm going to add another little bit of foam tape to add even more dimension. So it's going to be stuck a little tighter in the center and popped up a little bit more on the sides. I don't know about you, but I like having fun playing with little embellishments and adding a little dimension here, a little dimension there, and making it a little bit of variety. So then we can go ahead and stick our cute little bow that we've created right there at the bottom of our card. So cute. And let's also bring in a little bit of sparkle. So I have the Melon loose sequins, and there's actually no melon. There's no melon in the Crisp Air collection, but it is pretty close to the peachy colors, right? When you're looking at something that's a little bit shiny. So let's add some little bling. We'll put a little bling there, and a little bling there, and a little bling there. Get our pickup tool. And I realize that I have not been looking at your comments whatsoever in the last in the last few minutes, so I apologize if you said something and I haven't acknowledged it, but I've had my concentration going here. So we got a big one and a medium one, and then let's find a little guy here and stick him on there for a tiny little bit of sparkle. So there we have our thin cuts used in expected and unexpected ways, creating a cute little bow embellishment. We started out with our slider thin cuts, and we have our sentiment stamp there. You are as sweet as a peach. While I've got it up here like this, I'm just going to go ahead and dovetail the top of our slider just to give it a little nice shape. Just give it a little snip in the center, and then come in from the side like that, and come in from the side like this. And hopefully that will give people the indication when they receive a card like this that there's something going on, and you should probably give this a little bit of a try. And so again, that crisp air, isn't that gorgeous with those little squares? It pretty much makes the card just with that, but I like the addition of the cute little bow that we've created with different layers, and using those layered flowers thin cuts to create that bow. And then our little melon blings. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that come together, and have a wonderful evening, and we will see you soon. All right, toodaloo. Hopefully this video doesn't disappear like the one yesterday. All right, bye-bye.